Science A, Unit 7, Lesson 3, Methods with ArrayList. The objectives here are to trace and to write methods that use ArrayList as parameters, and to trace and write methods that use ArrayList as return types. First, let's look at an ArrayList as parameter. When passing an ArrayList to a method, it is important to remember that you are passing a reference, so that any changes made to the ArrayList in the method are made to the original ArrayList. Let's trace through the following code. So we have public class example, and then our main method. We create an ArrayList that's going to contain integers, and we're going to call it numbers. So right here is our numbers, and it's going to point to this list. And we're going to start, the way we're going to fill it is we're going to start at 0, so k is 0, and it's going to go up and include when k is 20. And we're going to skip count, if you will, by 3. So we're going to go 0, plus 3, plus 6, or plus 3, plus 3, etc. So here, 0, 3, 6, 9, 11, 14, 17, 20. And we'll actually get up to 23, but when it becomes 20, once we hit 23, we're going to be too big and we're going to drop out. So first, when it's 0, what this line does is every value of k. So all I did up here in the blue was I outlined what k was. So I started at 0, went all the way through, and I didn't quite have enough room over here, okay, to write 23, but 23 is what's going to go in right here. But 23 is bigger than 20, so therefore it won't go through the loop. Inside of the loop, you're going to add to the end of numbers whatever k is plus 2. So when k was 0, you put 2 into the list. Then when it was 3, you put in 5. 6 went to 8. 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 plus 2 is 13. 14 plus 2 is 16. 17 plus 2 is 19. 20 plus 2 is 22. K becomes 23, and this loop ends. And then you do an output line, and you just output the list. 2, 5, 8, 11, 13, 16, 19, 22. Then there's this call to mystery numbers. Dun, 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 dun. We come down here to mystery. We don't know what mystery does, but mystery takes as a parameter this array list. So it passes the address, mystery numbers. It's going to pass the address down here to mystery. So mystery is going to accept an array list of integers, and it's going to call it list. Since it's passed by reference, list receives this address. That's why it's pointing to the beginning of it. Then, for I is set to 0, I is less than list.size. So we're going to loop through the whole list. Remember, this is an array list, so we use .size, not .length. And we're going to go through it one by one. If list.getI, mod 2 is 0. Remember, anytime we mod 2, right here, okay, we're going to do, what this is doing is if even. If whatever we're looking at is even, then we're going to set it to 50. So we're going to set that particular index to 50. So let's go through this. We start out, and I is 0. 2, mod 2 is in fact 0. So what are we going to do? We are going to replace it with 50. And we go to the next one. Is 5 even? No. Is 8 even? Yes. Is 11 even? No. Remember, if it's no, it just goes through the loop. There's nothing else that's done. Is 13 even? No. Is 16 even? Yes. Is 19 even? No. Is 22 even? Yes. So now we've gone all the way through. We're at size, because basically anytime you go to I less than list.size means you start at 0, go all the way through, you're looping through the whole list. Now, this just returns. It doesn't return anything. But what's happened is because it was passed by reference, anything that happened to list inside this mystery happened to the actual list out here. So now, right after this, when you output this, you do the system.out.println numbers, you're going to get the 50, 5, 50, 11, 13, 15, 19, 50. Basically, any place where there was an even number, it now says 50. Passed by reference. Well, now what happens, excuse me, if you want to return an array list. Returning an array list works very similar to arrays. Remember, you are passing references when exchanging variable names. Let's trace through this example. So in this example, our main method creates an array list of strings. And we're going to call this array list trees. So here we have trees, and we're going to look at all these strings, and it's just going to point to the first one. And then we don't have a loop. Instead, we're just going to trees.add pine, boom. Trees.add oak, boom. Trees.add maple, fine. Now we want a spruce added to our list. And then we want a coconut added to the list. Now we're going to create a new list. But this new list is going to be created by calling tree mystery and passing it trees. So first off, new list is going to be set to whatever gets returned here. Okay? And down here, this takes tree mystery, gets a list. Okay? This list, notice, is trees. So it's going to point back up here to this guy. So indirectly, this guy is pointing to this guy. Okay? So now what happens in tree mystery? It loops through this list of trees that it's got, and it checks the string size and gets the length. If list.getI.substring string size -1, it's going to look at the last letter in the string and see if it equals an E. That's what this does. It gets the name of the tree, and it does the substring at the very end, so it's getting the last letter. If it's an E, then it's going to set that particular one to tree. So, and this loop starts at the beginning, goes to the end. Again, notice it's much better to figure out what the loop is doing than necessarily stepping one at a time. So, pine, does it end in an E? It does. So I'm going to replace it with tree. What about oak? No. Maple? Yes. What about spruce? Absolutely. And coconut? No. So now we're done. Now we're going to, and down here, oops, now it's going to return list. So what happens is list gets sent back. So now when that happens, oops, new list, we'll just do this. When it sends it back, new list is going to get this guy, okay? He's going to get the same address as that. So new list becomes that. And remember, once this ends, this goes away, okay? All of this goes away because it's lost. But it sent back the address. So now new list is pointing to trees. So now trees and new list are the exact same thing. The exact same thing. So if you print them both out, what are you going to get? Well, let's see. You are simply going to get tree, oak, tree, tree, coconut right here. What are you going to get when you print out the new list? Tree, oak, tree, tree, coconut. These two are pointing to the same list. Okay? That is what happens when you pass by reference. And that concludes Lesson 3.